Hello, I'm UpYax Toycat, and good news because Minecraft has just updated Superflat. This is the 1.20 1.80 update, and it contains a lot of features you probably weren't expecting to be added to Minecraft, including one that will literally change combat every time you use it, as well as 2 huge bug fixes, one of which everyone will appreciate, and one of which I think a lot of the community will hate. And I want to start by apologizing for my Superflat text being slightly off-center, but that's exactly how I feel now that Mojang have taken the Flat World preset and made it super. By the way, subscribe if you want to learn more about all Minecraft updates as they come out, because the first and most important feature of this update is Flat World presets, and we've gone from having just one type of preset, that's 1 layer of grass, 2 layers of dirt, and then the layer of bedrock, to now having 8. Here they all are, simply summarized in-game, but you can check them out in the menus too. We've got the desert biome option, which is sand, sandstone, stone, and then bedrock. Then we've got the redstone ready preset, which is great for playing around with redstone, because of course you can put some redstone on there easy. We also have the classic flat, which is what we know right now, as well as the bottomless pit, which is effectively the same, but it replaces the bedrock at the bottom with a couple layers of cobblestone. Very, very fun indeed if you like the idea of falling into bedrock while playing hardcore. Anyway, we also have the snowy plains, the windswept hills, which is the tunneler's dream here. We have the water world, and we have the overworld. These are the 8 different presets that you'll notice that exist right now, and you can build them all instead of selecting the classic flat option. However, you still cannot individually change the layers or toggle structural generation, so no matter which type of flat you play, it will be different to the Java Edition equivalent, because there'll be no structures and no customization. However, there will be more changes coming soon, including the void preset in literally the next update, but for now, this is still great, and you can see as we walk around this world that it's based around these new presets, and hopefully it gives you some inspiration. But speaking of inspiration, this update has quite a few new features, some parity changes, some of which are good, some of which are bad, and let's start with one of the best ones, because you can now use items while looking at a monster spawner or a trowel spawner. Previously, this wouldn't work because the use function would be kind of like how you can't, I can't use a honey bottle while looking at a door, or indeed looking at a chest. It was like that while looking at a monster spawner. It was a weird parity issue that they have now fixed, and similarly, they've now fixed it so that mangrove roots can be used as a fuel. I mean, what else are you going to do with your plentiful piles of mangrove roots? Well, obviously, you're going to use them to cook up iron ore. This is, of course, how most people turn their iron ore into iron in the year 2025, and do not question that at all. Speaking of things you shouldn't question, slimes and magma cubes, when named, again, we're all doing this all the time, these are my 2 good friends here, but when you name either of these animals, or enemies, human beings, human beings is definitely wrong, but of these lovely creatures, they will keep the names even when they split, and so effectively, you can get more value from your name tags, because look at that, it's Harry and Sally, and they're doing just great, but I'm going to run away from them anyway. Speaking of running away, if you run away from wither skeletons or zombie piglins, they can now walk in lava, which is scary. This is kind of weird that they wouldn't have done this before, because both mobs were immune to lava before, but now they're actively willing to run right into it. Speaking of running right into it, here's a really cool change you might have noticed while I was attacking those previous mobs, but did you know that performing critical hits with enchanted items now produces magic critical particles? So previously, your particles would look like this kind of white effect, but if you use an enchanted sword, like right now, you're going to get these more purple particles, which you might just kind of spot in there. At first I thought, oh, this is kind of strange, but this is a feature that's here to stay, and so magic particles are going to be there every time you get into combat with an enchanted weapon, which if you have a long-term world, like many of my viewers do, is going to be most of the time. Speaking of most of the time, cut sandstone and cut redstone sand slabs can now be crafted in the stone cutter. This is a weird thing to have not been there before. It's a great example of parity just kind of making Minecraft a bit more playable. By the way, look, the redstone ready preset, it makes it really easy to do redstone. Redstone that can tell you how to do things like, okay, well this isn't that useful, but this redstone back there certainly is, and apparently gets activated when you hit that button. If you hit subscribe right now, it will turn off. Have you ever seen videos that claim stuff like that? Like, oh, if you hit subscribe, then I won't die. As if, like, you're immune to the idea of understanding how pre-recorded videos work. Speaking of pre-recorded videos, rabbits now drop more rabbit when killed by looting, and thankfully this guy right here, don't worry, I'm not being a monster. He has, terminal illness, and the only way that I can put him out of his misery and make him feel useful is to kill him with my looting sword, under which he'll drop not just free rabbit hides, which is, its own thing, but also 4 raw rabbit, which means that rabbit is a more viable food for those weird situations where you have both a looting sword, but also no access to other food. Anyway, speaking of, by the way, I love the new rabbit spawn egg and all of the spawn eggs from the last update, but it's also a sad day for Bedrock players because despite all of the cool bugs they fixed, they've also fixed one of my favorite bugs, which is this one right here. You were previously able to, depending on which update you played, find one of these items in the Woodland Mansion chest with Efficiency 1 attached. This changed so often and so much that people genuinely sure that Mojang were doing it as a joke. I mean, Efficiency Golden Apples, that's just silly, right? And if you want to, literally, if you haven't got the update as you're watching this video, because you haven't hit update, you can right now go to this room in a Woodland Mansion and you'll find one of these still. But if you don't do it, it will be an iron axe with Efficiency 1 because it was a bug all along. Mojang wasn't trolling us or being fun. It is an issue that they have now fixed, which also describes one of my favorite fixes from this. So by the way, shields now take extra durability damage when blocking an explosion. Here you can see my shield took durability from that. Side note, nuts that a shield can block a charged creeper explosion, but also while using fireworks on a block. So if you're gliding and you were to touch a block with your fireworks, instead of using a firework like this, it will act as a flying one, which means you can do some actually really weird things, because you can fly directly at the ground and you'll kind of store some of that momentum. So let me show you what this looks like. Fly at the ground and then store some of that momentum and you can just kind of jump into the air. It's really, really cool, actually. That obviously feels more bugged than it was before, but I personally love the idea of being trapped in a hole. Here I am right now, and not having to just fire fireworks against the edge, but instead being able to do this, and taking a bit of a hit on the way out, but being able to fly. I love elytras, and if you have a long-term world that's any size, you know you need to use these too, so I'm sure you appreciate it as well. So there's these other gameplay changes, in case you want to know. Totems got a very slight buff. We also have a slight buff to the parrot, if you want to call it that. Farm animals spawned in mangrove swamps now are warm instead of cold, and the ambient sounds for all of those blocks will play properly. By the way, I can never hear them, and so on. I got lots of comments saying, Toycat, you just have to turn your ambient sounds up. I would like to point out, here in my audio, my ambient is set up to 100, but I just never hear ambient sounds. Am I crazy? Does anyone hear them in their worlds if you play Bedrock? You know, I'm probably crazy. Speaking of probably being crazy, they've also made these changes to the UI menus. The biggest one, in my opinion, is the fact that the profanity filter can now be disabled for Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch, which means, do you want to read some naughty words that I read in chat? You don't want to read the naughty words. But you do want to hear about the technical changes, because the return of custom biomes, creators can now replace portions of vanilla biomes with custom ones, more functionality for scripting. There is a lot of very cool things happening, by the way. The custom biomes thing is huge for creators. They had a custom biome experiment years ago, but it stopped working after Caves and Cliffs, and so now creators for things like add-ons will be able to make custom biomes again. I don't think on the marketplace yet, maybe not for a while, but if you are to download one outside the marketplace, you should be able to get custom biomes, and one day in the future it will be there. Speaking of one day in the future, some devices have lost support, which is VR and MR devices, and also there are two new experiments, Drop 2 2025 and the Locator Bar. So Drop 2 2025 allows you to have the Happy Ghast and the Dried Ghast, so if anyone says this update has those things, they're not lying, but it's just a way for you to play around with these features before they come out next time. If you turn them on, your world will have experimental tags, and I wouldn't recommend this for a long-term survival world, but if you just can't wait for the Happy Ghast, well, you know what? Here's a harness. Look at me. Wait, I can't get close enough to him. Here's a harness, and let me show you. Oh, okay, yeah, this is terrifying. I do not like what I'm looking at. I'm just gonna get myself out of here before it's too late. And I'm going to tell you that the Happy Ghast is here alongside the harness, alongside the Ghastling, and alongside the fact that you can do all sorts of fun things with it. Again, the Happy Ghast is something we all love, everyone's excited for, and to be able to use it is very, very cool. It becomes a block and it's not quite perfectly functioning in this previews, but if you want to have a little bit of a play with it, and you're on Nintendo Switch or iOS and you can't easily access a preview, this is the way for you. Speaking of the way for you, oh, no full damage. Nice. It will help a lot with building in the sky, and there's lots of fun to be had with experimentation with that, but also there is a second experiment, the Locator Bar. This adds a new HUD element, the Locator Bar. This will replace your experience bar if you are in multiplayer and there are people around. However, your experience level number will still be shown above the bar, like it is right now, and if you collect XP, it will temporarily be shown. Although, I've got 1.21.80 levels, which means that actually I can't see my XP bar, but it will come back for that reason. And yeah, the locator bar shows all players within 120 degrees horizontally off your camera. Each player has their own dot, and what's interesting is you can't see those dots if they have these things attached: a mob head, an invisibility potion, or crouching. But if they're not doing any of those things, you'll be able to see whether they're above or below you based on these icons. This is for the blue player in this case. Very, very cool, right? Speaking of very, very cool, this is the locator bar's basic summary. It's useful in multiplayer, and if you have multiplayer friends, do check it out. But in single player, it has no use. You literally shouldn't turn it on. There is zero value to you, and so it's a multiplayer feature because Minecraft would like you to play with friends. Speaking of playing with friends, here is a fun little tangent from the video that we'll remove if they do decide to remove the experiment. This is a pretty cool world, right? Imagine it, but with some fancy new graphics. This is Vibrant Visuals, the new default look for Minecraft, except they haven't added it to the game as a default look yet. Instead, it is an experimental toggle. There is a small chance the experimental toggle will be removed, and so at that point, this version of the video will not be visible. But if you're watching this, that means there is a toggle you can turn on, which will allow you to turn your Minecraft to look like this if you're playing on at least an Xbox One X. You have to go to your video set, so turn it on, the experiment, before you go into a world, then go to video, then go to graphics mode, and that's where Vibrant Visuals can be found. It is going to be the new default in the same way that right now most devices have fancy and not simple graphics, and it's going to change lots of things in a very serious way, but still, very cool. Here are all of the fun changes that they've made if you want to learn about them. I also made an entire video about it. It will become the default very, very soon if you're on one of these devices or better. If you're on the Nintendo Switch, on the other hand, good luck trying to run even base vanilla Minecraft. Speaking of which, I learned recently Nintendo Switch Minecraft costs more than every other platform, and I think there's something brutally, just beyond brutal about that. Okay, back to the main video now. So, that is all for the Bedrock Edition 1.20.1.80, but it is worth mentioning that because this is a minor update, the next one is going to be a more major drop, the Summer Drop, which has lots of exciting features, namely the things that are experimental in this version, but also, it's going to allow all sorts of fun changes to Superflat. Also, there are going to be other changes, which we're going to be learning starting from tomorrow, and 1.20.1.90 is the next big update, or drop if you will, but this one still has some major changes with things like those sparkly effects, with things like looting getting a buff, with things like the Woodland Mansion no longer being so crazy and mangrove roots being usable, but also, I think the biggest change that everyone's going to be using are these brand new Superflat presets. I mean, first of all, look at this. I love this mineshaft concept, making a mega mineshaft, but using the Minecraft default game design language for it. I absolutely love this stuff, designing like new and old versions of things that made it into Minecraft. Absolutely love it. Super, super fun. But if you don't like this and you want to build from redstone, well, try Redstone Ready. Do you just want a desert? You probably don't, but you could have one. Do you want a bottomless pit? Well, hopefully not, because we have one here. But yeah, if you want to have any of these different types of worlds, they are all available as Superflat presets, and honestly, that is really, really cool. I would love to see custom Superflats make their way into the game, but this is a great step on that journey, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And so this is the update where flat became Superflat, and all of these other things have been nice dressing along the way. Speaking of dressing along the way, I hope that you've enjoyed this video so far. Consider liking it if you did, subscribing if you really liked it, and check out the other update videos if you want to see what's happened in Minecraft in the last year. We went from having one update video a year to having one almost every couple of months, which means that there's a lot of content to catch up with if you've only got it back into the game because of, I don't know, the movie or something. And so hopefully you go check that out. But for now, thank you for watching, and 1.20.1.80 will be the version under which Toykat's Toolkit releases. I'm really, really excited about this. There's so many fun things in Minecraft that, I've always thought, why doesn't this just exist? And being able to add those things to the base game is finally going to be happening. A lot of people liked the Boss Blitz add-on, but wanted something more helpful for their survival worlds. And as of last update, you'll be able to enable Toykat's Toolkit as long as you have this update update installed, and it won't actually turn off your achievements in your world. So you can have things like the multi-tool, or the shield skiffs, or any of the wonderful features, including the new Enderite armor. You can have all of these things enabled, and what's fun about it is it won't turn off your achievements. So yeah, that is coming out on the 27th. It is the next big release that I'm excited for, and then after that, on to 1.20, 1.90, and the summer drop. And so hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and hopefully you enjoy yearning for the mines, because I'm yearning for your miner update to be released, which it is as you're watching this video. Anyway, onwards and upwards to the summer drop, and if you want something to freak you out, here is a water world preset with some lights at the bottom. Isn't that just so intense? Anyway, speaking of intense, this video isn't camping, and so it must end. Goodbye.